Turn to earnings, and in fact we've got the management of Century Plyboards joining in to talk about the quarter gone by and the outlook going forward. We've got Keshav Bhajanka, who is the executive director of the company. Keshav, thanks so much for taking the time. Would you be able to tell us about the volume growth and the value growth and take us through the trends that you've been witnessing in the quarter gone by and the outlook in the remainder of the year?
Hi, good morning. I'll take this segment by segment. So, if you look at plywood, I think that we have done exceptionally well on volume growth. We have been close to 20% in terms of volume growth, which is something that we have achieved after quite some time. I think in the second half of the year, this is likely to temper a little bit, but we'll be looking at a value growth of at least 12%. And in terms of EBITDA guidance, we would still be at 12 to 14%, which is what we had guided for the entire year. As far as laminates is concerned, we have missed our growth targets in H1 and in Q2 in particular. But I think second half of the year, we'll see a rebound in the laminate segment. So I'm looking at a 10% plus value growth in laminates. And alongside that, a margin recovery to 10 to 12%, which is what we had guided for the year. When it comes to MDF, we've had a very strong quarter in terms of volume growth, but there has been price correction from the last year, and that has impacted us. Now, in Q3, with the new capacity fully functional, with volume gains, operating leverage, and a product mix that includes more premium products, aided by a price increase that we have taken in November, I'm seeing that we'll have a 40% plus value growth, and the volume growth, of course, will be higher in the MDF segment. In particle board, there is raw material pricing pressure, as similar to what is in MDF. And I think there we'll be looking at a flattish growth with 10% plus EBITDA margin for H2.
Mr. Bhajanka, good afternoon, sir, and thank you so much for joining today. It's Puneet this side as well. Now, I guess, your EBITDA margins profits have also declined a similar trend to the previous quarter. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, this is largely due to the timber prices as well. Just wanted to understand, where does the current environment stand? I think in the previous quarter we spoke, you mentioned that in the north it's about 6.5 to 7 rupees per kg for pricing for timber current in Q1, while it was around 5.5 in the south. Blended was coming around the 6.5 rupees. Is it still at that price, or have you seen any kind of reduction which will benefit you as well going forward?
We all hope that we will see some reduction, but in fact, the prices have jumped up further. So I think that in MDF, there is no sign of prices abating. It is not, a scenario where we are very hopeful that in the short to medium term, prices are going to correct substantially. But having said that, now, finally, the market has moved back into a cycle where we can pass on the price increases to the market. You'll be happy to know that we have gone in for price increase in November itself, which will be blended between north and south, close to 3% or 3% plus. And I think this is the start of perhaps more price increases in the near future. So even with elevated timber prices, I think we'll be able to maintain our guidance of 15% EBITDA on standalone basis. And even on a console basis, considering that the new investment is going to start to pay dividends and it is going to start benefiting from operating leverage, we will definitely be at 10% plus EBITDA margins.
This is for the rest of the financial year?
Yes, for H2.
H2, got it. Does that metric change heading into next year at all, or are you anticipating that the raw material prices that you've seen, and of course you can't look that far forward, but assuming that we continue to see pressure on raw materials, and also when you're saying that price increases could take place, Keshav, could you give me a sense as to how much you'll be able to pass through and what kind of price increases you're anticipating in the second half?
So, like I said, in November itself, we have taken a blended increase of more than 3%. And, it is difficult to comment on future price increases and how much that will be. But I think we will take more price increases during the course of the current financial year. Next year, I think we will see a higher EBITDA margin, but I don't want to comment too much on that at this point in time.
Mr. Bhajanka, just wanted to deep dive into this pricing part, because in Q1 you had mentioned that there was a price hike of about 2% you had taken for the plywood segment, as well as for the laminate segment about 3% in August. But MDF you weren't able to take a price hike, which was the pain point. Now you are saying that you'll be able to take some in November. Did I hear you correctly? And is that the blended 3% as you're saying, is that also for the MDF segment?
I'm talking about only MDF right now.
Okay, so a 3% price hike, you see it for MDF specifically in the month of November, you've already taken that?
Yes, blended meaning that for north and south, for the existing as well as for the new capacity.
Now, Mr. Vajanka, I just want to, ask you on, the new facility as well. Your new MDF facility was ramping up and was expected to turn EBITDA positive in Q3 of FY25. Does that guidance still stand?
Yes, very much.
And yeah, please go ahead, sir.
We're very happy to state that Q3 will definitely be a bit positive, and we already have the data in from October, so we are more than confident.
And just wanted to, talk to you about your guidance because, in this particular quarter, like in every quarter, you do give a guidance for the particular segments. Now, laminate segment, you have cut the guidance in this particular quarter for the full fiscal year. Talk to us why this particular guidance has been cut and about the segment as well. If you could give us some light for Century, what's the reason behind the same?
So I think we have invested in a lot of fronts in laminates, but the fruits of the same are yet to come. So while we have invested in new capacity, which has larger sizes predominantly towards exports, exports is a market where I think we were under the impression that we would make a dent far sooner than was realistically possible. So in the second half of the year, even the new capacity for laminates will be a bit positive and it will aid to growth. But I think that we are being conservative and saying at H2 we should look at 10% plus growth, and the rebound or the additional growth that should come in will be next year. In terms of EBITDA guidance, for H2 will be at 10 to 12%, which we had said earlier as well. Across segments, plywood we are consistent. MDF for standalone will be at 15% EBITDA guidance with 40% value growth. And for particle board, like we had said, the margins could be slightly lower due to timber prices, but we'll be flattish overall because the new capacity is likely to come in only towards the end of Q4.
Okay. So quite a bit of capacity coming on stream in your various categories. I'm just trying to understand, would that mean that a large part of the capex that you had planned is underway and nearly done? And what is anticipated heading to next year?
So you're absolutely right. Most of the capex is practically done. And the only large capex that is yet to come on stream is the particle board plant in Chennai. That is likely to come on stream within next quarter itself. So overall, I think we're in a position where, most of the capex is done, and now we shall start seeing the benefit out of the same from the second half of this year and from the next year for particle board.
Just a question on your capacity utilization in Andhra Pradesh currently. Where does that stand as of now?
Currently, I would say that we are at a sub 50% capacity utilization. Going forward, within H2, I think we'll definitely be at 50% plus capacity utilization.
And just one on realization quickly. Your laminate, as you mentioned, the guidance has been cut. So where does the current realization stand? I think in the previous quarter, it was around about 880 odd rupees per sheet. Is that still the level that it is at?
In the current realization, due to an adverse product mix, the overall realization has fallen. But like I said, we've already taken a price increase. So like for like, the prices have actually moved up. For the second half of the year, considering that in the Andhra unit, we'll be making compact boards, which, as you know, are far higher priced items, the overall realization is likely to improve.
Keshav, thanks so much for joining in and for speaking to us. Pleasure speaking with you, and wish you all the best in the second half.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's talk about one of the stocks that has been in focus